Good morning, and good morning. Hey, everybody. Look at all those beautiful people out there. Oh, wait, was that a mirror? Oh, I'm kidding. Obviously, clearly, it was not a mirror. Anyway, I'm just being silly early today. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. It's Thursday, July 30th. We got one more day, uno más, day in the month of July. It seems like the 4th of July was just yesterday. That's because that was my what was it? 58th birthday was the 4th of July. Seems like I just celebrated. But we are moving through. Tomorrow is the last day, and then we're going to be right into August. I wonder how many of you at the beginning of the year said, you know what? I'm tired of being alone. I'm sick of being a wallflower at all the dances. I'm tired of eating TV dinners. Do they still make those? Yeah, they do. They just aren't the same. Remember those ones? And literally, one I dated for 6 months when I was 22 years old. Nothing before that, nothing after that until 5 years ago, Saturday, this past Saturday, 5 years ago, I met my everything. And I had all but given up. Seriously, I had all but given up. But I hadn't given up completely, or else I wouldn't have found him that day. Went online to one of the dating sites, and I had it on in a back office in my house, and I think I was cleaning. So every time I went past, I went to see, did anybody say anything to me? I'm bad with rejection. And and this one I kept hearing ding. So I go running back there, and we were like, hi, hi. And I was like, aw, isn't he cute? Blah, blah, blah. And Reader's Digest version, we met for coffee later that same day. And I lived on a bluff. So the only parking behind my house was for one car, mine, because the water was down there. And so I had to tell people to park a block away. And Brian parked, and it's so short. There were a lot of women walk their prams down the bluff in St. Joseph, Michigan. Their babies in their little prams. And so there was a group of those women crossing the street while Brian was crossing the street, and he was in the middle, and they were all taller than him. And so I was like, well, where are you? He goes, I'm crossing the street by the Dairy Queen. And I was like, well, I don't see you. But when I looked, and this is no crap, this is the truth. When I looked, I literally saw a light coming from the center of those women. I watched, they went straight on the bluff to walk their children, and Brian turned and headed down the sidewalk towards me. And I was so mystified, if you will, at what I was looking at. I was talking, and I don't even remember what I was saying, but he was right in front of me when it all ended. And I said, well, why are we still on the phone? You're right in front of me. But I'm still looking, like trying to figure out in my mind, what the hell? What is this light, this aura? Right. And fast forward 3 hours later, before he left, I did not want him to leave. I felt this innate thing inside me that kept saying, you better say what's on your mind. You may never get another chance. And I said, I know this is going to sound crazy. I knew he was a therapist, so yeah, he's supposed to think I'm crazy. Um, I said, I have a feeling I'm going to pursue you. I really think you're my soulmate. I think you're the one. And of course, he was like, okay, you know. I just happened to be chopping some onions at the time. No, I wasn't. I'm kidding. I was not. Anyway, and here we are. We got married 2 years later, and we've been together this past Saturday for 5 years. And when I went to the Ozarks last week, that was the that was the longest amount of time that Brian and I have spent apart since the day we met. And so I'm just telling you, it's possible to find your soulmate in 120 days or less. Now, I think got the figures right. I believe, how did he do this? Jeff went on 43 dates in 120 days, spread over 32 women. And some of those women, of course, were second dates, and found his soulmate. And so now he's written a book called The Fifth Power for Relationships that we're going to talk about today. And we're going to get you in the mindset, if that's what you want, to believe that you too can find your soulmate in 120 days or less. Now, what are the statistics for this thing? How many people actually believe in soulmates? I know I do now. Can't tell me it doesn't exist. I'm living it. Ta-da! You know what? It is so, there's nothing better than knowing your everything is just inches from you when you lay your head down and inches from you when you wake up. It has done so much for me believing in myself. Brian gave me a book 5 years ago that said he heard me say I wanted to be a motivational speaker. That book, I still haven't even cracked it. It's just as crisp and new as the day he handed it to me. But the fact that my soulmate said, "You can do this past January was 918 paid speaking gigs later. So I'm telling you, there's power in the soulmate, and we're going to help you find yours in 120 days or less. Now, Jeff Crawl, I found these. I know he's in the green room listening, but listen, you're not alone if you believe in soulmates. 73% of Americans believe in soulmates. More men do than women. And 74% of men believe, 71% of females, 79% of people under 45 believe, but only 69% over 45 believe. And I think that's an important part for us to talk about a point today, because that was me. I was getting older. I was like, oh, guess this is just what it's going to be. Just me all the way to up the roof. And I was wrong. And I hope that if you think you're going to be alone, you're wrong too. So let's get Jeff. I know that he was down at the Starbucks doing a speed dating course this morning. I hope, is he back yet? Well, if it isn't Mr. Matchmaker. Jeff, do
Hello,
people?
hello.
Hi, welcome to the show. Jeff Crawl, author of Fifth Power, the Fifth Power for Relationships and the Fifth Power Formula. Listen, do people? My first question is this: do people ever confuse you with the matchmaker?
They do. They do. They
What's the
always say,
difference?
"Oh, you're that." The other person I think of is that movie with Will Smith, uh, Hitch,
Oh
and they
yeah,
always mix me up with that as well. When I say, "Yeah, I help people find their soulmate," that's like one of the first things they, "Oh, like Hitch," and it's nothing like that. So.
nothing like that. So we got a lot of friends here. I think there's some people here that know you. What is this? Who's Kedma? Do you know that person? A gimmick, or do they want to believe?
People think it's a gimmick. That's the first thing that they always say. I have a lot of people that also come up to me and they're just like, "How could you do that to people?" And they blame
Oh,
me for telling people I can help them find their soulmate. And I think that's kind of the world that we're in. But you know, when people really do truly are committed to
mm-hmm.
having that special person in their life, then they're all over me. They're asking me so many questions. It's nonstop. Because they've hit that barrier, that wall in their life where they've either, like you said, I mean, for yourself, you just given up. I mean, so many people, it's amazing that the statistics that you shared, that
Mm-hmm.
people do want to find their soulmate, but yet they hit that wall and it's like they automatically stop. And I call them there's three deadly and invisible forces I talk about that typically hold people up. So,
Mm.
but yeah,
Okay.
in
Are you going to be
networking,
able to
I
share
always.
some of that today?
Sure, sure.
Okay.
So the first one is people trying to do it all on their own. So how many of us have faced, this scenario where we want to have that special person in our life, and then we start to do it all on our own secretly, right? Like we go on the internet by ourselves, we don't tell people about it.
Mm.
We try things because, a lot of times we don't want to fail, right? And look bad if I told someone this is what I was up to, or they don't want to go through another bad past relationship. So, they try to do things all on their own. And I think that's a big mistake that people get trapped in, and then they
Mm-hmm.
hit that wall right away. So that's the first major one that happens almost
Okay.
all the time. And, as humans, we all do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second major one is having the naysayers. All your family, friends, coworkers, they start giving you all sorts of different advice and
Based
start
on
telling
their.
you
Mm-hmm.
on their opinions. You can't do this, or you need to get your life in order before you talk about finding someone. Someone's
Mm.
going to leave you no matter what. Don't worry about
Mm.
it. So, that kind of stuff is going to show up all the time. So
Okay.
having those naysayers there, that kind of the negative talk, they're the ones that kind of take the negative talk in your head and magnify it even louder. and so then you start to believe that that's the truth. And if
And they're
that's the
in most
truth,
cases, aren't they deflecting?
what's that?
Aren't in most cases, aren't those people deflecting? They're
Yeah,
they're convincing you of what they believe.
exactly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So Um, so that's the second major one, and then the third one is just kind of shiny object syndrome. I mean, we all get distracted, and we use that as a justification and a way for us not to have, what we really are committed to in our life, what really matters to us in our life. And usually we'll do distractions like, we'll try the newest app, or speed dating's working, so maybe we should do speed dating. Oh, there's these lunch and meet type things. Maybe we should do that. Oh, I heard this service works really well. Maybe I should pay for that service to go do that,
Mm-hmm.
and so on. And so yeah, so those are some major
So
ones
there's
that
okay.
always show up. And then the other one I think is interesting is what you hit on the nose, which is you give up.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that shiny object, you do avoidance, which means you're
Yeah.
just giving up, and you put your attention on other things, my career, or my
Yes.
my life. And before you know, you get lost in all those other things, and you've given up. What you're unaware of and you can't see is that you've given up, on what really really matters to you.
To some of my female friends that are single, I've heard everything from I'm married to my career. I don't have time to date. Um, I have a Christian friend on the East Coast who swears up and down she's married to Jesus. So there's that. And but let her meet some guy at church. I mean, now this is the thing too. I mean, there's so many different things we could talk about with this. Um, there are people who say that they don't want it, they don't need it, they don't care about it. But as soon as they start dating, immediately they're telling everybody, "This is the one." I met Mr. Right. I've only been out to coffee once. This, that, and the other, and then they set themselves up, and then few days later, honeymoon phase is over, and now, and so now they're afraid to share with people what really happened or get back up on the horse when the right one comes along. So many
Yeah,
different things that we do to sabotage. I think more people, just like with business, more people are afraid of success than truly are afraid of failure. Um, and and here's another thing. There's all these different shades of what a true monogamous or committed relationship is. My idea could be different than the next person's. And so there's so many things that go into it, but if you don't look, you will not find. So I want to ask you something. We're going to take a look at something because this applies to so many people. I mean, I have a good friend who just lost her husband, that after many, many years. And we've talked about how long is how long is the right amount of time for her to how many years should she wait or
right.
to start dating again? And also when it comes to soulmates, what about people that have married and say they lost a spouse? I found something I'd like to share with everybody. We're going to share the screen just for a second, and then, Jeff, I want you to talk about what we finished here. It's just a minute long. This woman is Ariel Ford from she's from the Omega Institute for Holistic Studies. And she gives us a little minute recap about what she believes is the truth regarding soulmate.
She says there, because it is so true that a lot of times we feel like we've lost that one special person, and
Mm-hmm.
there's only one of them out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally against that as well. I mean, it just the biggest thing I help clients with is clarity. And I think when you have complete clarity and you only date and go out with people that fit the clarity that you're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
only then will you find that right person where literally everything clicks in. And there's multiple ones out there. It's just a matter of what's the first one you're going to bump into first, and I totally believe in all of that. And it's definitely the beliefs that you
Right.
have for yourself that holds it all up.
So, Jeff, why is it that most of us believe? Where did I don't even know where I got it. Where does that come from? That we believe soulmate is one, only one. you're wandering the universe, and it's wandering. He or she is wandering the universe, and you start going, "What are the odds?" Uh, you know. Um, and then we hear, like we just heard, that there are possibly thousands, hundreds of thousands. So,
Yeah.
what is the literal definition of a soulmate?
For me, I use that word. It means to, it's that person that pushes you up to that next level. That
Mm,
person that believes you have more power and freedom to give to the world than you believe in yourself. And
mm.
that's that's one of the things
That's so true.
that I
That's what I
love
was
about
saying
my
about
wife.
my husband. Yeah, that's what I was saying about Brian. He just has this innate thing that he doesn't have to tell me. He doesn't have to render an opinion. He'll just buy me a book or something. And I mean, he constantly buys me books, and it just does something. It removes so many doubts and fears because when it comes from that one and only, it's the one place I have found in my universe where doubt just doesn't exist.
Hmm.
And it's just the most wonderful thing ever. It truly, truly is. There's some things. Let me ask you this now. So, Is there a litmus test? Is there a checklist, if you will, of ways to say, well, how do I know I'm with my soulmate?
Yeah.
Okay, can
So
you
for
give us
me,
some of the things that point to
yeah, I'll
that?
give you a little bit. So in my
Okay,
book, there's a section called "The Power of Clarity and Focus,"
okay.
and really it talks about how most of us know, like, when we're on this journey to find your soulmate, we start with this big list, right? We started like
Mhm.
huge big list. We write it all out. It could be a page, it could be 2 page, some people three, four. It's crazy some of the lists that I've seen that people have, like, this is my soulmate. Start to, if you had to share that with everyone out there, you're never going to find that person, because you have such a big, huge list. So I teach people to narrow it down to only five attributes, because when you're crystal clear on what you're looking for,
Mhm.
right, then that's what starts to show up in your
Mm.
world.
Law of attraction.
Law of attraction, right? Your reticular activating system, however you want to call it, but right, it's like it happens.
That's
As soon
true.
as you said, "Hey, I want a red car," then you start seeing there's another red car, there's another red car, there's another red car.
Yep,
You start seeing all these things.
that's
And
right.
as soon as you write down, these are the top five qualities I'm looking for, you're going to start seeing those. And if you start sharing those, which is my next chapter called The Power of Asking in Community, then it's just like going to open up, and people will draw that to you.
Mm.
And you mentioned I went on 43 dates, and that was all by introductions. None of them were through online dating. None of them through me going out and trying to find someone.
Right.
Right? It was just me, sharing
Cruising.
vulnerably
You
with
weren't
people.
cruising.
I was cruising. I was sharing vulnerably. I didn't even think if you would have told me in the beginning, "Hey Jeff, you're gonna go on 43 dates to find your wife and the one," I would have said, "You're crazy. Forget it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm out. I'm out. It's way too much," you know. But
Right.
but it's it's what happened, because I would share with people, and then they would go, "Hey Jeff, I think I know that person. Can I introduce them to you?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so yeah.
Now, my husband is he's a doctor. He's a PhD in marriage and family relationships and all that. And I hear
Wow.
him often when he's working from home. I can hear through the door. I've heard him on more than one occasion tell people, listen, don't spend so much time looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right. Invest that time. Feel about that. And
Yeah, so
uh,
I
go
I
ahead.
think you're right. You hit it right on the nose there. I mean, and it doesn't surprise me that's what they're teaching, you know, to your husband's doing, because
Yeah.
my fifth power, for example,
Hmm.
is supposed to be the fifth power, but I put it the first chapter of my book because it's the most important power, and that is, one, you've got to, elevate your own life to your highest self. If you're not like in the you don't have to be the best of the best, but
Yes.
you got to be on the game board of playing to be, a better self. And when you do that, you start to, again, start to attract others. And you can do that by intentionally versus unconsciously. And I think a lot of times we spend most of our time on autopilot versus actually consciously and intentionally being our best self.
Okay. Good. I'm ringing the bell on that one. Now, Donna says, and I love this because we respect each other here and we're here to talk, have a conversation. Donna says, wish we'd leave the idea of a soulmate in the weeds. It only sets one up for unrealistic expectations. Now, I get what you're saying, Donna, and then I'm gonna let you respond, Jeff. I get what you're saying, and I had that type of a mindset as well on the front end prior to actually meeting my soulmate. But once I wasn't looking for my soulmate that day. I was hopeful that it'd be somebody I could maybe catch a cup of coffee with, this and but I was so far removed from the dating scene. I didn't have any expectations, and I think that maybe that was one of the things that made it work so well. I really didn't expect much, but I will say this: it's like this. Let me just put it this way. My husband says, when things happen in my world, oh, you made the cover of this magazine, or oh, you're going to go do this thing. We used to do a happy dance. We still do. But the last time we did it, which was just a few weeks ago, he stopped and he looked at me and he goes, honey, there's something different about your happy dance. You don't seem as excited. I said, oh, no, I'm just as excited. The difference is I'm no longer surprised because I live in a world of expectancy. I tell people it's just like that. It's just like when I order something from Amazon Prime. I get that notification, your order has shipped. It's going to arrive Thursday by 9 p.m. So when someone rings my doorbell at 8:59, am I surprised? No, because I expected it. And I think that has a lot to do. You have to be in a mindset of expectancy. So Jeff, how important is mindset? Because we're great at sabotaging ourselves.
Yeah, it's the first, like I said, it's the first chapter we focus on, which is it's all mindset. I think 90% of the game is mindset. Period. I mean, because you know, like she was saying there, setting that high expectation, always sets you up for failure. But if you don't actually have clarity of what you want, and you don't have the right mindset for what you want, what ends up happening is you hit that wall of, this is way too high of an expectation. And then the only thing to do with that is to quit, right? Is the only thing to do with that is to stop and do nothing. And you got to, again, it's tough in the journey in the beginning because I mean, I went through the downturn. I went through a divorce, and my first wife just literally just walked out, and I came home and she was just it was it was like, my bags are here. I'm out of here. I want a
Ooh.
divorce, and talk to you later. And that.
And then also, I want to know, how does this mindset uh, play into television shows like The Bachelor, or The Bachelorette, that sort of thing. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And we're back with Jeff Kroll, the author of The Fifth Power for Relationships, the guru of soulmate seeking. And we're talking today with Jeff about how he went about finding his soulmate, his current wife, in just 120 days. 43 dates, 32 women, just to find that one needle in a haystack. Um, so, Jeff, let's start with The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, those kinds of shows. Some people might say, well, isn't this kind of that? Minus the
Well,
roses.
yeah, minus the roses. I think here's the thing I think about those shows. It's kind of, remember, that's a profitable show, right? The whole
Mm-hmm.
goal is profit. So is the way they demonstrate that, you only see clips of what's really happening and you don't
Mm-hmm.
really know what the truth of all that is. Yes, they're putting all those people in front of you and so on, but were they